Things continue to go poorly for Ubisoft. The company revealed that its net bookings declined over 50% in the third quarter compared to the same time frame last year. Roll this up over at fandompulse.com. You can find the link in the description below. So, in its third quarter 2024-25 sales document, Ubisoft shared that net bookings stood at 301.8 million euros in Q3, in line with the revised expectations. Those revised expectations were lowered nearly 20% in a press release in January, where the company said Q3 fiscal year 2024-25 net bookings are now expected at around 300 million euros, primarily reflecting lower than expected holiday sales, mainly for Star Wars Outlaws, as well as the discontinuation of X-Defiant. In its Q2 report, Ubisoft had shared that it was expecting net bookings for the third quarter of 2024-25 to come in at approximately 380 million euros. So they lowered those expectations 80 million euros, and they're saying it is due to lower than expected holiday sales, mainly for Star Wars Outlaws, as well as the discontinuation of X-Defiant. I think that goes to show that Star Wars Outlaws was a total loser. A complete and total loser. They put it up over on Steam. It did not do well. It is not a long-term winner for them. No one is going to be buying this game anytime soon. They didn't even buy it when it came out. I think the rumor was that it only did 1 million sales in its first month. And then you look at all of like kind of the Twitch stats and everything like that. It was completely flat. No one was streaming it. No one was watching streams for it. And then if we do go over to SteamDB here and look at this game and look at the numbers here, we will see that it was really bad. Like, look at this. This is 2,492 peak when it came out in November. Only 172 people playing right now. Only 337 in the last 24 hours. So the sales for this game are basically non-existent. No one is buying this game. And remember, they put this on a discount too when they released it. They discounted this game when they released it, which was crazy because the game had just come out at the end of August. But man, 80 million decline there in their expectations, mainly due to Star Wars Outlaws sales being horrible and them discontinuing X-Defiant. So if we look at the previous year, net bookings are down over 50%. In its third quarter last year, the company had net bookings of 626.2 million euros. Again, 301.8 million now. That's a decline of 51.8%. Huge decline for Ubisoft in the third quarter. Really bad. And remember, that is mainly your main quarter where you're going to get a lot of sales because that is Christmas. That's when they're releasing a lot of their big games, and they're hoping that people will buy these games as Christmas presents. And no one was doing that with Star Wars Outlaws. And then they obviously delayed Assassin's Creed Shadows to February. Now it's been delayed to March. But they actually think this game is going to do well and salvage their entire year because they wrote this in their latest report and saying they believe it is still on track to achieve net bookings, quote, of around 1.9 billion euros for the entire year. They said together with a solid back catalog and expected material partnerships, Q4 net bookings are planned to grow year on year thanks to the Assassin's Creed Shadows release on March 20. To that point, it shared that pre-orders are tracking similarly to Assassin's Creed Odyssey. CEO Yves Guillemot also said this: early previews have been positive, praising its narrative and immersive experience, with both characters playing critical roles in the game's storyline, as well as the quality and complementarity of the gameplay provided by the dual protagonist approach. Ironically, I think it was the creative director, I think his name's Jonathan Dumont, he literally just gave an interview with a Screen Rant saying you don't have to play you don't have to play either of the protagonists if you don't want to. You can just play one. He didn't give a percentage, but he basically said, like, you won't be missing anything if you don't play one of them. He did say that there is like an introduction to them that you'll have to play, and they each have their own individual storyline. But if you just don't want to play Yasuke or you don't want to play Naue, you can. You don't have to go back and forth between the two. You can just play one. So you don't have to even play the other. So this idea that they keep touting this dual protagonist approach. They're sending mixed messages there. Someone is contradicting the other. But anyways, we've seen these before. We've seen comments like this before. We saw this with Star Wars Outlaws. And remember, they lowered their expectations in Q3 by 80 million because of poor sales for Star Wars Outlaws, discontinuation of X-Defiant. You go back to Q2, they were expecting to do 500 million with Star Wars Outlaws releasing in Q2, that in August there. They didn't. I think they did 300. They 200 million decline. And they had to lower their expectations for that as well. So we're getting same comments here for Assassin's Creed Shadows as we got for Star Wars Outlaws. And I think we're going to see the same result, right? But anyways, this is what Yves Guillemot said about Star Wars Outlaws in their Q1 report ahead of the Star Wars Outlaws release in Q2. He says, the gameplay we presented for our two highly anticipated upcoming premium titles, Star Wars Outlaws and Assassin's Creed Shadows, was not only praised by players and critics alike, but also highlighted the cutting-edge capabilities of our game engines. We found out that the game was absolutely bug-ridden when it was released. I mean, stormtroopers were shooting into the side of walls, not even shooting at the character. Kay Vess was just hiding in this like grassy area, and there were enemies just kind of surrounding her, standing outside the grass area, but not actually going in and attacking her. It was really, really, really bad. And again, they're saying the same thing here. They're saying the same thing about Assassin's Creed Shadows as they were saying with Star Wars Outlaws. Early previews have been positive, praising its narrative and immersive experience. Was not only praised by players and critics alike. I mean, it is the same thing over again, and they are expecting different results. That's absolutely not going to happen. Yeah, here's actually the reporting on the Q2. They actually had to drop it by 30%. It was 350. Excuse me, sorry about that. I was off by 50 million there, not 300, but 350. But they did decline from 500 to a range of 350 to 370 million. And then when they did get those numbers out, it came out to 352.3. They then admitted that Star Wars Outlaws underperformed sales expectations. And then, as we just kind of went over, they're blaming its lower net bookings for Q3 on Star Wars Outlaws as well. So it's not looking good. It's not looking good for Ubisoft at all. And I think that these comments here from CEO Yves Guillemot are just kind of trying to get as many sales as he possibly can, buttering these investors up, and I just don't think it's going to work. I don't think it's going to butter investors up. I don't think it's going to butter any kind of potential customers, the gamers up. People have made their decisions. I've said this time and time again. They should have just released it in November and got as many sales as they possibly could. Instead, they delayed it to February. They spent an extra 20 million euros, they said, and then they delayed it again to March. So they're just racking up costs, and I don't think they're going to recoup those costs at all. And I think this 1.9 billion number for the year, I don't know if they're going to hit that. I doubt that they will. I think it's going to be bad because I think these Assassin's Creed Shadows sales are not going to go the way they want, even though they're trying to tell us that it is tracking similarly to Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which is the second most sold Assassin's Creed title. But let me know what you guys make of this. Let me know in the comments below. What do you make of Ubisoft revealing that their net bookings for this last quarter were over 50% down compared to the quarter last year? Let me know in the comments below. Remember to always be charitable, especially to each other, and to always, always speak the truth.